It being 6:38, we will call this meeting of the Manchester by the Sea Select Board to order. Jeff,
Yeah.
Brian,
Here.
Kathy,
Here.
Ann's here.
John's here.
Um. Are there any public comments on items that are not on the agenda?
I actually have
Okay,
a couple. So after town meeting, I started to think about all the money that we're gonna talk about later, and it got me thinking that we probably wanna think about an advocacy plan. We have some new elected officials which have already joined the State House and will be joining Congress on our behalf. And we typically leave all advocacy, to you, Tony. But I think given, the amount of expenses that are coming our way, we could all think about how we might want to advocate for Manchester at a state and federal level. So just wanted to kind of put that as something we might want to chat about. And the other thing, just to throw it out there, we normally have some type of a summer strategic planning stuff. My summer calendar is already getting a little bit full, so I was just wondering if we maybe could put that on the to-do list for May to kind of pick some time when we're gonna all want to get together.
Mhm.
That was it.
okay, so that's two things to add to the action list. I would like to take one off. Unless somebody else would like to sponsor it, which is my item for the next meeting on the dredging process. I don't think we're ready to have it.
Too early.
Yeah, an intelligent decision.
Leave it on, but push it down, or
Leave it on and push it down to late September.
And while we're talking action items, I have no idea why my name is on an action regarding the Harbor Advisory Committee. I'm not working anything there, so
Okay,
somebody needs to run. I'm not even a liaison, so I'm
right. Could we just either cancel that or push it? If it doesn't have a sponsor, then let's cancel it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, one more thing.
Yep.
Tony's review, we haven't done this quarterly.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, that can take place of the dredging on the 18th.
So is the dredging coming off, or is that just gonna get pushed off?
The dredging can get pushed off until
So mid-September,
mid-September.
second meeting in September.
Okay, is there anything? Okay, the first item on our agenda is the Verizon, there is no chairman's report, as usual. The Verizon, New England Proctor Street hearing, yes.
I move that the select board open a public hearing of Verizon New England petition 4A4FO0GU. I'm not sure which. To install underground conduit on Proctor Street.
Second. All in
Yes.
favor? Jeff,
Yes.
Brian, Kathy, and
Yes.
yes. Okay, please.
Good evening. My name is Alexander, last name Marrero, Marrero, resident at 17 Cross Street, Marlborough, Massachusetts. Employee Pike, PIKE, Telecom Renewals LLC, authorized contractor for Verizon New England Incorporated. I've been asked by Verizon to speak on their behalf about the petition in front of you this evening. Just any questions that the board or any members of the public might have. Verizon is hereby petitioning to place two new 4-inch PVC conduits starting from existing pole 3 located on the public way known as Proctor Street and running it in a northeasterly direction, approximately 248 feet to existing pole number 1 located on the same public way. Verizon is hereby making this petition on behalf of Carpenter and McNeil They made a request for Verizon in order to remove existing aerial facilities located in that public way. In order to accommodate that work, we need that conduit in place first.
Any questions?
Is this an upgrade or maintenance or what is this?
Basically, we're removing existing aerial facilities over to underground at the request of the customer.
Okay, so you're going.
Just on the street itself, digging up the street itself or the sidewalk, I don't think there is a sidewalk.
There is no sidewalk. Basically, we will be as close to the edge as possible. There is some drains in the way, so we have to skirt around them. So there will be some asphalt that will need to be removed and replaced as part of this project.
Chuck submitted all the usual conditions, I presume.
I don't see them in the packet here, but they will be a part of the road opening permit.
Okay.
So
Okay,
move the select board close the evidentiary portion of the hearing.
Second,
yes,
I'm sorry. Again, John,
Yeah.
Ann, yes, Kathy, yes, Brian,
Yes.
and Jeff.
Yes.
Okay,
all right. Then I move that the select board approve Verizon's New England petition 4A4FODU to install underground conduit on Proctor Street as shown in the plan.
Second.
Yes. And yes, Kathy.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
And Jeff.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Good.
the next item on the agenda. Oh, sorry, is there,
Oh, sorry, I move that the board close the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you.
Jeff,
Yes.
Yes.
Brian, yes, Kathy.
Yes.
And yes.
John, yes.
Okay. Thank you. I assume you'll be in touch with the DPW and.
Yeah, that the road department will contact your public works department. to Coordinate the whatever conditions you set in the petition.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
The next item is a town meeting recap. Tony?
Yep, so town meeting went for 2 nights. We all articles passed. We had a few different amendments that were proposed on the floor. Most did not pass. Overall, I think that the flow of the meeting went really well. I felt that the questions that we received during the meeting showed a general understanding of what was being proposed through the warrant. And I think that goes back to a lot of the educational material and information that we put out through social media, through the website, through the finance committee book, or through the Cricket.
Or you're attending meetings and talking.
Or going to different meetings. And it's never in those meetings did we have the crowd that was at town meeting. But obviously, I think through word of mouth or reading of the Cricket and looking at the stuff that we put online, I felt that the residents who attended were pretty well informed. And I think we did a good job of answering any questions that we hadn't heard yet that came up. Overall, I was happy with that element of it. For me, I think that's really the key responsibility. And then, getting approval of all these articles is the next step. So I felt, the town responded well to the information that we gave them. I thought that the you know, personally, I prefer to have less handouts. We tried pretty hard to get all the information into the finance committee book. We'll try and do a better job at that next year as well. There was 7 or 8 different handouts. And it's just a lot of information for people to get and for the handouts to be effective when you have 7 or 8 different handouts. And, you know, it's hard for people to kind of digest all that, you know, at the meeting. So getting it incorporated into the finance committee book and sent to people's households prior to the meeting gives them more time to kind of read up on that additional material. I thought Eli did an excellent job, and you know, there were moments there where we had a motion on the floor, a motion to amend, a motion to amend the amendment. It can get very complicated, just the way town meeting time procedure dictates, and I thought Eli handled that really, really well. So overall, I was pleased. Have received some feedback since the town meeting, mostly all of it positive. If anything, it was a couple comments where, how can we move it along faster? I have some ideas on that that we could think about for the future.
I think that, Tiffany and Kirk did a remarkably good job with the presentation and the managing of the votes. That just was flawless.
It was, yeah, they did a great job. And there's so many people contributed to the town meeting, from the select board, the finance committee, and then, you know, then back all the way down to the staff that helped set up the room, helped set up the slideshow, you know, organizing the different vendors that were helping us with the audio and visual elements of it. You know, residents attending the meeting and participating in it. There's so much that goes into it. So many different people have a hand in that, and it all came together really well.
Yeah, I'd say good job. I mean, I think your public forums were great. That's something we haven't really done before. And hopefully in the future, people will take advantage of that, because I think that's a great piece. Eli did a great job. Everybody on down did a great job. So, especially with everything we had on the warrant, I mean, that was huge. So,
I get nothing, other than, you know, we have an awful lot of articles that maybe we can have to take a look at next time and call back on some of them. You know, we knew that we were gonna go to a fall town meeting, so maybe we could have, especially with zoning, maybe. It's, you know, it's unfortunate that we lost a lot of people going to the second night. And it's, to have less than 200 people voting on things for a town of this size, it's kind of distressing. So I think we should really shoot towards in the future looking at a one-night stand and tailoring the articles to that regard.
Yeah, I agree with Brian. First of all, I think it was absolutely seamless, the transition between the new town moderator and new town administrator. You guys did a fantastic job. All the logistics, fantastic. Everyone was so well prepared. And I also want to give Chuck some kudos. He did a great job answering questions very, you know, briefly, in a concise manner, easy to understand, and on very complicated projects. So I thought he also did a terrific job. And fantastic educational material ahead of time. I thought, you know, the public forum sessions that you recorded were terrific. I do agree with Brian. I think the warrant was too long, and I'm a little bit worried about, we talked about the ballot, that, because we're not done, you know, people have to approve it at the ballot. I'm a little worried that the ballot is going to be so confusing. So I don't know if you've got any additional education planned for that, but that worries me a bit, that people might not understand.
Yeah, to that point, we're having a discussion with legal counsel on that. We're a little bit more limited by law as to what we can use town funds for in promotional activities
Oh,
for ballot
right,
questions.
Right, because of the school committee, yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
okay.
but I do think that there's some non-promotional, just educational
Right,
info we can put out there about why there's two questions for
yes.
Each.
one.
Yeah, general, why, general instructions as to why this ballot is
Yeah.
gonna look very ugly.
Yeah.
So that was good. And then, so those are my kind of pros and cons. I also thought the motions were incredibly complicated. And I just, for whatever reason, I'm drawing a blank on, has that always been the case? I don't recall it always being the case since, and so I gotta do a little digging on that, but they felt overly complicated. So those are my kind of pros and cons. Lessons, what I was pleasantly surprised at the questions that were asked. I think you're correct. The people who came to the town meeting and the questions they asked, they were very well informed. So again, I think that goes to the educational materials that you prepped in advance. A lot of the questions were asking us, how are we going to run these expensive projects? And what type of boundaries are we setting on large expenses? If I had to summarize a lot of the questions, a lot of them fell into one of those two categories. So I do think before we have another town meeting, we may want to consider a public forum on, either expensive items before we put them on the warrant. We did that for the rotunda. I keep going back to that, right? We had a huge public forum on the rotunda long before we put anything on the warrant. So I do think for these really big expenses, we need to pay more attention to that. And I'll bring it up at the facilities planning committee because a lot of that stuff will come through there. The other thing I believe is that these projects that we're kind of getting into now, the Lincoln Street well being, the most expensive potentially right now, we haven't really talked about a governance model on the decision making. So when you get to that level of expense, the board has some oversight responsibility. So you may want to draft up like a RACI chart or something, just, here are the decisions the project manager gets to make on their own. Here are the decisions that Tony has to make. Here are the decisions that have to come to the board or, something like that. So I would, for very, very expensive projects, which, this potentially is our first step down that lane, you want a clear governance model for decision making. So, and I also I had received some feedback from folks as well. I sent you guys an email that was forwarded to me today. In your inbox. But yeah, that's that.
The guy could sit through 2 nights of town meetings, but he can't last for 20 minutes in select board meeting.
Yeah.
I think the preparation was done well, that we're not anywhere near as many questions as I thought there was gonna be. It's very interesting that there was an inverse correlation between the amount of money spent on a project and how many questions there were. Most of the questions tended to be dealing with the senior center, which was a couple of $100,000. And there really weren't any questions with regard to the 16.5 million. But
There were some.
There were a little bit.
But said we could each have a.
Well, that's correct, yes, and I've heard that one before, and he's right. He's right. But kudos definitely to Eli for handling what was really, I thought was a challenging situation. And it's the first meeting that I can remember where it was 2 nights and you had to make that decision as to how things were going to fit together. But it all went smoothly. And I think that, yes, we got to shorten it somehow a little bit with regard to comments or something.
I don't think we can limit the comments. I think
No, not the comments and people.
I think we have to limit the actual.
Be more deliberate about what we put on the warrant. And
Yeah.
then in order to shorten it though, if we do hold more public forums on these big items, before we put anything on the warrant, that, so I think, if the next town meeting is going to be in November and we anticipate a school, ask at that meeting, we might want to consider having, is there anything else that we need to add to that warrant? we want to make those decisions very early and make sure people are, well.
But in general, I mean, people knew what they wanted to do. With the exception of the rotunda, everything was 85, 90%.
Yeah, the rotunda did not make it to.
No, it's, I don't know what's gonna happen on the ballot there, but everything else was up there. So there wasn't a lot of controversy at the end of the day.
You know, just, obviously an observation here, but there were a lot of good questions because they were informed. And the people, they're the ones that showed up. Everyone who, they cared.
Mhm.
All right. 85 or 90% of the town doesn't seem to care.
Well, I don't
Maybe
think
they,
that's,
they don't care. It may be that they think things are running fairly well and they don't.
Yeah.
It's not,
Oh, we'll take that lap.
I also think, towns, depending on your particular stance, sometimes it's tough to get.
Well,
work.
there really wasn't anything really controversial.
I guess I don't, I think the senior center was just a little bit controversial just because it was new, like what we were asking for and the expansion to a community center. That was just new in the past couple of months.
And I wonder how much the fact that the warrant said, we'll make recommendation on the floor. And
Right.
somebody's just walking in.
Right.
And a lot of people are walking in and they see this and some of these issues for the first time. And they say that, it's controversy. What's going on? Why is
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
I think that was part of that picture.
Right.
I don't see how we could have avoided that.
No, we had no
Because
choice.
of my timing
We had no
standpoint, but
choice.
But the other thing to consider though is, for fall town meeting, if we expect there to be a school ask. There were a lot of questions around the financial boundaries, so we might want to think about having a discussion around some of these other big projects that we're considering. So that the residents are fully informed about what might be coming down the pike before. Voting on anything. And you did a great job showing how this particular article affects your bill, right? Well, we know there's a 25-year plan, whatever. We need to start showing all of that to the residents. Combined, here's what we think is happening. So that when they vote on one thing, they'll understand the whole context. So I think if there's gonna be just, maybe it's not fall meeting, maybe it's spring, but before the next big ask, whenever that is, we should be showing them the
Well,
totality.
your bar graphs, the back of that did that. Said this is, all this goes in, these are the dollars that are involved.
Yeah, there's some of that
Yeah.
in the book, but I understand what you're saying.
Your bar
It's a little
charts were
bit
great,
more-
but we want like a little stacked bar chart, fiscal year 27, this project, here's what it adds up to, just add on to what you already have. And I think that'll help people understand and be able to make informed decisions.
The only. Our 25-year plans don't include anything for the schools. And I realize it's not in our control, but it is important to and I would like to see. Because we'll have the Essex Elementary,
Right.
but in another 10 years.
Right.
If not before, we'll have to do something with the middle high school.
Right.
They're talking about redoing all the labs, little stuff like carpets but
that's right. So it's basically, I think we have a good foundation. You created a really good foundation for communicating with the residents about the impact. And now we just need to build on it. And we just put down what we know when we know it, right? But I think it's important that they get familiar, even if it's just a 10-year look ahead, right? Get familiar with one set of charts that shows them, okay, here's where we're at, here's where we think we're going to be, and consistently show them that one chart, right? And then when they vote, they'll have a consistent context and they'll remember it.
We actually met today to talk about the borrowing schedule for these projects, should they be approved, and along with the other projects that are on. And that kind of flowed into capital plan discussion, and the finance committee is looking to meet late May, I think the 21st, and that would be one of the agenda items.
Good, excellent.
Looking at the previous 25-year plan, there are definitely improvements to be, I think, there's obviously new information. I think Essex Elementary was on there but obviously the dollar amount needs to be updated. Other projects and things like that. Also the 25-year plan. There's different versions, there's kind of a condensed version where you kind of summarize these projects into categories so that you can have that expenditure information and your 25-year revenue, projections all on one page. But really, to break down the 25-year capital plan, it becomes quite
Yeah, I mean,
long. So we have to
It's
think
a
about
long
what's
time,
the,
yeah.
yeah, we have to think about, first of all, updating that, and then what's the best way to communicate it?
I think the charts you did are really good, but also, including in that, like I said, revenue, which could include grants or whatever to offset some of those expenses. There's different ways of visually showing that. So I think we just need to come up with a standard that everyone's comfortable with and just keep showing it over and over and over again. And then you can have good discussions.
Little leery about including grants, given our recent.
Oh, no.
I would suggest
Have-
federal grants, that ship sailed.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you want to
No,
offset,
if
show what you
you're doing a
offset. Yeah.
10-year,
No, yeah, not 10-year. I'm just, what don't invent something that doesn't exist. But what you know.
Problem is, how do you nail down costs? I mean,
Well, but it's
your
estimated.
costs would be distinct in a couple of years.
Yeah, no,
And
it's all
cost,
projected.
only the shelf life of a cost right now is about 3 months.
I understand, but you still have to do a capital plan. And even 5 years out is just anything, to your point, 3 years and out is your best estimate. Okay, 5 years and out is just wishful thinking, right? But you just put in that plan what you know, but just having that standard set of collateral helps you talk about the right things.
Yeah, and I think even though it's hard to project the timing and the cost, and it's good to show the residents that we're not just living in this year, we're
Exactly.
looking at,
Mhm.
what's to come up in the future as well. Eli's got his hand raised.
yes. Eli.
So I'd like to cover a couple of points on the meeting specifically. You guys are talking about a little bit more in the way of future planning. So one on the 2 nights meeting. I'm certainly not a fan of 2 nights meetings. Don't want to do one again. I think that was an anomaly. I think it happened because we didn't have a fall town meeting last year. We have for a little while now been doing zoning articles in the fall, financial articles in the spring, which is a change from when I first arrived in Manchester. But it started to become the theme. And I suspect that it won't be that much of an issue, that it won't need to be seriously addressed if we actually plan on having zoning articles, if possible, happen in the fall in a special. Then this will shake out relatively easily, so that we won't have to have it 2 nights. A small procedural point, or logistics point, actually. We actually switched to closed captioner that was not in person. We avoided that before. But we didn't have that option this year because they were not available in person because everybody's doing closed captioning now. So we ended up actually getting some support from the state and had a remote closed captioner. And as far as I know, that worked pretty well. I looked over at the closed captioning periodically, and it looked like they were doing a pretty good job. So I suspect we'll continue to do that. And it was one change from previous years that I thought I'd bring up. And then the last and only thing that I think is actually really actionable that we should do or address. There were a lot of motions that were relatively long. And you mentioned complicated language in a bunch of the articles. Some of that comes from in pretty much all the capital articles. There's language that came from bond counsel, and it's pretty complicated and it has to go in the motions. there are some legal constraints about what we need to do in town meeting with those. My preference would be at this point to have those motions in print and available to the residents. There's a technical issue with displaying them on the screen in PowerPoint. Some of them are too long to fit. And the residents actually have to have those motions either one way or another. They have to have the motions literally presented to them to vote on. So either I read them out loud or they have them in front of them in a handout, which is why we've done the school motions previously in a handout. Or they're displayed on screen, or they're trivial, and reading them out loud is a motion. The warrant as printed in I move the article as printed in the warrant is simple. That's easy to read. That's quick. But if we have bond issues or other things that are longer and they're not in print, and they can't be displayed on screen, I have to read them. And if I don't, we run into potentially some legal issues. So my preference would be anything that's longer, we have to provide it ahead of time. And I have one other point to make there. And we have to provide it in print at the meeting so that I can refer to it in print and we don't waste time. And yes, it's a handout, but it will solve some problems. Now, on them people having the motions ahead of time, there's a little bit of education that needs to be done because people still don't understand that if they are going to make amendments, they need to amend the motions. And we had a couple of different things happening. This has happened in the past. People trying to make motions to amend the article, which you're not supposed to, you can't do. You have to amend the motions. And we actually had somebody making motions to amend based on the handout. And there was some confusion over that while we aligned the thing that they were trying to talk about out of the handout with the actual motion in the article. And I think having the motions available to the residents ahead of time and doing a bit of education on the motions and how you make amendments would be good. And I actually have a plan to do a bit of a presentation on the motions for bond articles, like what you can and reasonably should make amendments to, and where you'll run into trouble if you try to make amendments to parts of the language that came from the lawyers and really shouldn't be touched. So I do think that there need to be some changes in our processes with respect to making the motions available to the public and presenting them to the public. That's the big takeaway that I had from that meeting. And it goes towards making things run a little bit faster too. Because if I can refer to the motions in the handout or in some print form, then I can make things go faster. And that was the last of my comments.
My recollection is that the stuff came back from bond council fairly late.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, in an ideal world, I like the idea. There's just always some minor tweaks that come up, in the week or two ahead of town meeting. And at that point, the book has already been sent to the printer. Ideally, you have the motions, in the book. Or if it's a timing issue, you have a separate handout with motions. But even if, for those larger motions, if we had them in the back of the book and there was a minor tweak, when the motion's read on the floor, you can refer to the motion on page X, you know, with a change to the word this to that or something, you know, you can make, and it's a little bit easier, but
So question, how late did these motions come in, the wording? A couple days before, the day before?
the week before, I
Okay.
mean, not
So-
all of them, but
So just as a consideration, for whatever reason, this town is not interested in presentations being given during town meeting. Okay, where I used to live, if you had a big expensive project, you gave a PowerPoint presentation, and at the end was the motion on the screen.
Mhm.
So even if you don't want to open up town meeting for full presentations, because we're gonna do that education ahead of time, could there be a PowerPoint slide with the motion written in advance and displayed?
and that's what we did, except for like one, the PFAS article literally could not fit the entire, remember that motion because it was SRF and local borrowing authorization, it couldn't fit, but everything else was on the PowerPoint slides.
So then, is there an issue with asking Eli referring to the PowerPoint slide? Is there is it because not everybody may be able to see it? I'm just trying to understand the problem we're trying to correct.
I can refer to a PowerPoint slide. The problem with the PowerPoint slide is if that's the only presentation, then the people on the floor will see that when you put the slide up. And if they are actually going to make an amendment, if they want to make an amendment, they have to make an amendment to the motion. And they will be working to make up that language then and there. So if you want things to run more smoothly in that respect, then you need to, and this is going to be a perennial problem. You need to educate the public that they're going to be making amendments to the motion, and you need to make them available to them ahead of time. There's not that many people who will want to do that. And the ones that really do, you can educate. So I think the motions actually need to arrive on the town website. And yes, it's going to happen, not that far ahead of town meeting because you can't control the external forces that are tweaking those motions, not entirely. But I think provide them ahead of time on the website, and probably provide the long ones in print as a single handout at the meeting so that I can refer to them would be probably the optimal way to go. Then if people actually want to make motions and they're properly educated, they'll have the ability to sit there and ponder a little bit. And I can even in my opening comments remind people of that so that they have like, forgot about that. And then they can go back to the motions. And while we're pandering on about this, that, and the other thing up front, they can sort their thoughts out and things will just go more smoothly. But if you display the stuff in real time, it's just going to be a recipe for confusion.
Do you still have to read it if it's on a PowerPoint?
I do not.
You don't.
I like the idea of coming up with a solution that allows whoever's making the motion to just refer to a slide or refer to a page so that they're not having to read every word of a long motion.
Have we given, I presume it's town council who writes the motions or who writes the motions?
Town council, most of them, bond council for borrowing.
And it's the bond ones that you're
And-
concerned about, pretty much, right?
Those are the most confusing
Okay.
ones, yeah,
Have we had handouts of motions in the past?
Yes.
just for the school.
Just for the school?
I was gonna ask, have we ever given them a
Yeah.
deadline and asked them how much lead time, what kind of work back? We need to do handouts. We need to create the handouts the Thursday before a town meeting.
Yeah, I agree.
So you got, give them a deadline. Have we ever discussed deadlines with them? Or just said, because if we've left it kind of loose, like, oh, we're having a town meeting on Monday. I don't know.
Honestly, just have gone through it just this year. I don't, it's hard to foresee, you know, time being available earlier to kind of move that up. There's just so much going on that it's the natural progression of things of get the warrant, get the recommendations, get the book, get the motions, you know, education material. It kind of all goes in a flow. But I don't hate the idea. I think we could try to get motions written up earlier and
Worst case, maybe before the next town meeting, we just talk through the timeline. You just outlined it verbally. Get it on a chart. Let's talk through it. And what do we, you know, hold us accountable too. By when do you need us to make our decisions? And, you know, just, we'll have a group discussion on the timeline. Finance committee, if they need be, or planning board, whoever it is.
Yeah, I like the idea of putting it on the town meeting page. Only a few days in advance.
Right.
Anybody who's gonna make a motion, I don't think any of these people are making mercurial decisions on the spot. I think they're planning that they would like to do something like that. And
An amendment, you mean?
yeah, an amendment of some sort. If they want to amend that's not a, you know, in the moment. I think that they know that they have an opinion there. They like to try and modify things. I think the handouts are probably a good idea as well, but putting them in advance, the people that have plans.
I think we should be pushing. Eli did a good job of this year. And I think if we can push it even more, is that if there are residents who are interested in making amendments to motions, which starts by publishing the proposed motions,
Yeah,
speaking with Eli beforehand. You know, I don't, if we're looking for efficiency, kind of creating the opportunity for amendments, a ton of amendments on the floor, it's gonna kind of have a alternative effect. So I think the more we can get residents to communicate with Eli ahead of time.
Mhm.
So that there can be a discussion about how a motion should be written after they, you know, explain what their concept is, the better. It's really hard to do that, as you saw, live during a meeting. And sometimes you can't avoid that. I think there are just some folks come up with, you know, during the discussion, they come up with an idea for an amendment. But yeah, certainly getting the motions
in advance.
in advance would help.
How many amendments were there this year? There were 3, 4?
It's the nested ones that get.
Well, then the pressure's on Eli to sort that out, and he
Maybe, I
did.
mean, maybe we just need some education around how town meeting works, how to, you know, because a lot of people that come from cities have no idea how the town meeting works like
Pretty
this.
good article on how town, in the cricket, but that's the cricket.
I know, but right. I mean,
So,
yeah, no, I'm not saying we haven't done
A
anything.
lot of people who live in towns that don't know how to.
I know, well,
Still.
this is true, so.
Like you said, it's who's interested and who's engaged.
Back to like, you know, efficiency ideas, a couple other things that I experienced in the haunt. One was in the finance committee book for important articles, we would sometimes add like a supporting statement from DPW director or supporting statement from a select board member. That kind of under the article, under the recommendation, the supporting statement, brief 5-sentence supporting statement that kind of explained what the article was and why we were
Like,
supporting
well,
it.
stand up there and read and just have it printed in the book.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that could maybe help explain what an article is and help residents understand why it's important. And then the other thing that we did, which I haven't talked with Eli about, was actually the finance committee or the select board were the motioners. They would actually read the motion. The moderator would then say, seconded by so-and-so, and the person who's making the motion would then be at the microphone right there to then quickly say, okay, this article is about ABC. And it also kind of helped eliminate a potential perception that the moderator was the one pushing the article. The moderator is there to kind of officiate the discussion, whereas the warrant is the select boards and the finance committee is involved in that. So that's another thing that, again, that would be kind of breaking tradition, so I'd have to talk to Eli about that, but there were moments there where Eli would read the motion and then the microphone would be passed to a select board member for a comment and then passed to a finance committee member for a comment. And those are just a couple minutes here and there that you could maybe speed things up.
Does that make it harder for the moderator though? Because the meeting is going through the moderator technically.
Yeah, so so it is true. We've done it traditionally the way we have for quite a while, and it actually is, I think, more efficient for me to read the motion. Because especially, if you think about the way it went towards the end of the town meeting, it was a pretty smooth flow of words about who was motioning, who was seconding. If you have the petitioner go up and the petitioner being a board member saying, I move that blah, 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 then I have to get a second. They can't say so-and-so motions and so-and-so seconds. There has to be a second.
Right.
So that part of the process, that's kind of a mechanical process. And if it comes from me, people are used to it coming from the moderator, and I can deliver it very objectively and very efficiently. So I don't think that we should change that aspect. I think people are used to it, and I think it can run pretty smoothly.
I think all you need to do is get Sarah Mellish a microphone, save 10 minutes.
I mean, especially Eli, if we can get what you're saying at the microphone as simple as possible, where you're saying so-and-so moves and so-and-so seconds the article as presented on, or the motion as presented on page, blah, blah, blah. The simpler we can make it, the faster the process would go.
I mean, normally we don't have this many articles, so
No.
I don't think we want to necessarily reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an
An exceptional year.
Yeah.
It really was.
Let's just not do it again.
So we'll try to come up with some ways to be a little bit more efficient in that.
As you're working on efficiency, one of the things that has been suggested is eliminating the ancient and honorable offices. And
Yeah, we did that and then we brought it back again.
we brought it back again.
Some up, not all.
Sure
Not-
did. Yeah, we did exactly that. There was, I'm sorry to interrupt. I will not interrupt. I'll let you go.
What I was going to say is that kind of brings the meeting together.
Yeah.
It people shouting out names and laughing, and I think it's a good way to start.
And settle down.
A feeling of community.
It gives it,
Make it settle down.
some humanity, and it gives
The-
small town.
I agree. And I think between the logistics and those honorable
Mhm.
offices, that took approximately 30 minutes, I thought. I thought we started the bulk of the work, if I recall, at about 7 o'clock. Maybe Eli has a different perspective. We can go look at the recording, but we just may want to budget for that time, right?
Mhm.
Understand that stuff is going to take some time and lots of people to thank and just.
And people who died and what they've done
Right.
and all of that. Yep.
Yeah, and I think those things are actually really important. So, for example, when we recognize the people who died the second night, I had somebody come up to me and say, "You missed somebody." And I had to, we chased down the logistics on that a little bit. And I addressed the person's concerns, and it turns out it was okay. But people actually really do care about that stuff, and I think it grounds them, and I think these are traditions, parts of the traditions that we need to maintain. It's important to people, and if they need to know that we care about them and that we are going to, preserve those traditions and remember people and carry things forward.
Remember most people.
I will say that being part of many town meetings, we are really efficient. I know we're talking about ways to be more efficient, but I don't want to give the impression that we're not. That's just even the Article 4, the way that the motion is read, where it's a total amount per category. I've been in town meetings where every line and every dollar and every cent is read, for 100 lines. So that's really efficient, and having the closed captioning, I think is extra efficient as well, because most people, if they miss something by ear, they read it really quick. So I will say, there's always room for improvement, but we are very efficient already.
My recollection is that last fall, we were looking at just I think one or two of the planning board articles, zoning articles.
And they weren't even ready at that. We weren't sure they were gonna be ready.
We weren't sure they were gonna be ready. So one of the ways we can make things better is by making sure that the planning board has at least some of their articles ready for the fall town meeting.
Yeah, I think that the planning board, and I shouldn't speak for them, but I think that they, depending on the article that they're proposing, sometimes they need a year of process. So I don't know if they'll have anything ready for this fall. It may be that if we want to push them to the fall, that it's a year and a half of prep that they have. So it's not this fall, it's not this spring, but it's the following fall. Depending on what, I know they mentioned, looking at the entire, the rest of the general district, that might need a long time to go through, so.
I think that if we set the standard that zoning articles will always be in the fall, unless extraordinary circumstances come up, that's how they can start planning their calendar, as opposed to, and then we had 2 nights. We would have had 2 nights anyway, one in the fall, and one last week. So we accept the fact we're going to have, although the expenses, we're doubling the expense. But I think that if the planning board were to accept and understand that if you need something done, it's going to be in the fall.
I mean, I think they did a good job this time. They were ready to go.
Yeah, they weren't ready to go last fall.
No, I know, last one.
And maybe if we said to them, okay, well, guys, now you're gonna have to wait, 16 months or 18 months to get it done.
I think it's a good thing to target, but I think folks felt like the downtown was in danger a little bit, and that they didn't want to wait until the fall. That's kind of my.
I mean, there might be some smaller things too, like I know there's that, battery storage, and there's a few smaller.
Short-term rental.
Yeah, there's a few smaller things that they
probably
can
small.
probably bang it out before. Well, maybe not a whole big zoning thing, but.
When was, in the past, I know this year, fall town meeting is kind of dictated by the school and Essex town meeting, but in the past, was fall town meeting in November, or was it in October, or
November,
usually?
mid-November.
Years ago, that was it.
and continue this.
I think we've got,
All right.
does anyone else have, Eli, do you have anything else?
Nope, I'm all set.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on.
Thank you, Eli.
Thank you, Eli.
Thank you. I'm gonna go finish my dinner. Thank you.
Lucky you.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. The next is the discussion items with the volunteer and employee of the year. We did it regularly for a while. We didn't do it for a while. We did it once because we had an employee who was stellar. And this year we just skipped it.
We received a nomination. Debbie had said that in the past, the schedule that we followed in the past was announcing in January with nominations due by mid-February, so about 3 or 4 weeks of an open period for nominations. And then the board would select the awardees by the end of February or beginning of March and present in April or May. So if we're gonna do it now, we should set a date 3 or 4 weeks from now for anyone that wants to make nominations. And is there an employee award and a volunteer award?
Yes.
So, looking at the calendar, we meet on the 18th and then the 1st of June and the 15th of June. Do you want to pick one of those dates for when nominations are due, or if you
Earlier
want
in
to-
June, because,
We're gonna lose people.
yeah,
All right, so, well, why don't we could do this. We could say end of May, nominations are due by the end of May 29th. And then we meet the following Monday.
okay. Fine.
All right, we'll publish that.
And then in the second June meeting or whenever.
When was the award made last year? That was a team deal for the
Yeah.
MBTA
It was
in the summer.
presented April or May. I mean, I think it would be,
That's
I
right.
think a good, I know we just talked about being as efficient as possible at town meeting. But I think it would be a nice thing if we were gonna do it on an annual basis that you make that announcement or presentation in the beginning of town meeting. When you have the
Yeah.
biggest crowd.
agree.
Mhm.
Okay.
But this year will be behind schedule.
A special town meeting for this.
Okay, so. Boof, on the action item list somewhere without a date. So that we remember next year that we need to do this starting in
Sooner.
April, starting in March.
Yeah. Okay.
And for this year, we'll just,
Mulligan.
yeah, right, yeah.
All right, so this gets announced or publicized all the usual ways.
Okay. The next item is the tree policy update.
Yes, okay, so I last met with the little team. Myself, Ruth Fitzgerald, Jody Morse, and we only involve Chuck when we need to, so he's very busy. So we last met in March and came up with some proposed changes to the tree policy, and then I will take the action to draft the updates to the actual policy. But I just wanted to bring up a couple for discussion here, just so we're all on the same page. So one idea is to actually update the building permit to include a question on whether any town trees will be affected by construction. This came up because some of the consternation people have about trees coming down seems to happen when someone's doing some type of construction. Came up again when we talked about the Lincoln Street well. It could be a private homeowner doing construction and possibly impacting a town tree. So the thought was, would it make sense to, you know, add a checkbox on the building permit? Will any town trees be affected? Ruth was going to consult with a Terry Cook about that. To see if that would, so we haven't met again. I haven't gotten feedback on that, but I wanted to mention it to see if any of you had any concerns about that.
How do I determine what's a town tree?
So we made that update. It's anything on a town right of way.
Okay, so I'm
Right.
again,
Yeah.
you know, we have to make sure that when they submit their drawings, I suppose, for a stamped approval or something like that, that will determine. You know, some people don't realize that where the town property is, even though they think it's been building forever. Now we get 10 feet off at this point right here, that's town property. So I think that we have to just make sure they understand that that was incumbent on them to realize if they're on a town tree or not.
Sometimes the town doesn't even know what's there.
Right.
I mean, that myself.
What about
so.
wording it in such a way that it doesn't, and no one encounters any legal liability or something?
Well-
Kind of brings to
Let's-
someone's
let's-
attention that somebody ought to look at it to see if it is a town tree.
Let's follow up on it, because the other kind of thing that's going through my head is the building permit and what the building inspector
Mhm.
reviews is dictated by
Right, okay.
building
yeah.
code and law, so. Cause we had a similar request from the Board of Health about asbestos certificates.
Yeah.
And we couldn't add it
Okay,
to the permit application because technically it's not the building inspector's responsibility.
Mhm.
It's a state requirement.
Mhm.
So, but that doesn't mean we couldn't, we're kind of gonna be looking at improvements
changes,
to inspectional service and permitting process anyways. So there could be something there that we could, it may just not be particularly the building permit application process.
So it might be better served by an improvement to a different process.
Well, the building permit process should encompass this.
Yeah.
The building permit should not.
Right, something like that.
Yeah. Got it.
Well, I know in January, was it January? When we looked at this and we defined public trees based upon mass general law.
Yes. What's
Which I
in
looked
public
up. And before we had some specific numbers, but that created problems.
That created
Because sometimes you're on the wrong side of a wall, and it was really a mess. And the state law leaves things kind of hazy, like it's your responsibility to figure out where your plot line is.
Mhm.
And it'll be in different places and depending on, you know, where the right of way is. And sometimes it's right on the right of way, sometimes it's more setback, but
I mean, I view all these
The
things as a trigger for a discussion.
Yes, it
You
is.
know, as opposed to let's go hurt people because they took down the wrong tree.
Yeah.
But I think that's really good feedback on the building permit side, so let me take that back to the team. The other big thing, there were some small items we want to potentially update around the annual reporting. Some of the reporting requirements in the policy are a little unclear, so we wanted to specify, you know, trunk size, some things that came out of the discussion, so I wanna.
That's for heritage trees.
No, so that, now we're getting to heritage trees, so this is the big thing I really wanted to discuss on
hold out.
today. We're actually recommending eliminating the reference to heritage trees and just deleting the concept of a heritage tree. And the reason is because right now we don't have a process for overseeing and enforcing policies on for trees on privately owned land. So the fact that we are calling something a heritage tree, but it's on somebody's private land, our policy is kind of, you know, telling us we can just, you know, tell those property owners what to do. And there are other approaches for dealing with private trees that other towns have established to handle trees that people care about but might be on private property. We don't have a good process around that. So our thought is, until we do, we should probably remove the mention of heritage trees. I wasn't here when we put that in, so I have no idea how controversial that concept is, and
It's one of the things that, you know, I wanted to build a house, and there was an enormous old oak tree, and it was distinctly where the house wanted to be.
okay.
Yeah.
That's why it was put in, okay. So I guess the way the other, just before you give me your thoughts, the way the other towns do it is they actually have, they conduct a public process to get public feedback, and Lexington has a process and a policy around this, around getting public feedback on important trees on private. So we would probably want to get a small committee together to, and have some public forums around, do we want to entertain telling people what they should or shouldn't do about
No.
trees on their property? So that's how other towns have done it, so.
It's not our right.
I mean, legally, how do we enforce?
You know, that's what these processes are.
This is a little bit like demo delay. You know, demolition
Yeah,
delay when you
right.
gotta, you know, it's a significant house and I'm gonna build a new house and I own the property.
Right.
And maybe you have a discussion, is there something we can work around here? But at the end of the day, it's the property owner's decision.
For a lot of times, some of these, they're going before the planning board and the ZBA anyway, all right?
It's gonna come up.
And it's gonna come.
And
Yeah,
the
come on.
Concom is often involved in.
Okay.
Well, yeah, if it's anywhere near wetlands, but if it's just,
Yeah.
you know, but I think that there are, for the most part, I bet you 80 or 90% of the time that we're talking about clear cutting, all right?
Yeah.
Or cutting down a couple of trees, it's because if it's gonna go before a board,
Mhm.
and that's gonna come up. It came up just last week when I was at the ZBA.
Okay, so the reason I'm bringing it up is because when I draft the few changes here we want to make, I was gonna draft something to remove the concept of a heritage tree. Are you guys comfortable with that?
Yeah, it's under,
I mean,
it's,
you guys would review the policy anyway. I just want to know what to work on from a draft standpoint.
I looked at it, it appears in definitions, nowhere else. Because it's already been kind of pulled out. It's just a definition and you say, is it gonna come up? And I didn't see it anywhere else in the document.
Actually, again, last week at the Concom down on Mascot, Ron Messer, Giacomo's house,
Oh,
okay? Question came up, one of the neighbors was concerned about some trees coming down.
Those big
whether it was
trees
a
down there?
heritage tree or whatever it was. And really, I mean, so it does come up in conversation.
Mhm.
I don't know if the ZBA has the ability to put a condition to, okay, but if I don't think the ZBA is gonna stop them from doing an expansion, to staying within the setbacks,
Right.
but there's a tree there. There's, you know, it's not our job to tell people what they can do with the trees in their property.
Is there a bylaw that this is associated with?
Don't believe so. So that's the other thing that's on the list here. It was recommended that we have a bylaw. So that came up. I think Chuck also thought it might be a good idea. Jody Morris thinks it's a good idea from Friends of Trees. And that we would, cover a lot of this stuff in the bylaw, which means it would go in front of town meeting, et cetera, and you can have an honest debate about what to do.
I would think that, anything related to private property trees, you would need a bylaw to support it. The policy is good for
Right.
town-owned
Yep.
trees.
Yes.
no.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's what it says here, yeah. Conduct a public process to address heritage/tree, private trees on private property. Lexington's policy, using Lexington's policy as a guideline, they do take into account buffer zones and tree bylaws, putting it in a bylaw so that it would really require the townspeople to debate it, whether or not they wanted to do something. So, but I'm just suggesting when I go to draft the policy, if I take out heritage trees, you guys are okay with
I have
that?
no problem.
Okay,
I'd like to take
Sounds
away
good to me.
any concept that the select board is voting on trees too.
yeah, well, with town trees, that's still part of our job. I think those are the big changes. So what I will do is I will take there are some other action items that I think, we have, before we complete the draft, but I'm gonna, now that town meeting's over, I'll get with Jody and with, Ruth again and tune this up and have it back to you probably around June.
Mhm.
Will you let her know that flag is in our office too?
Oh, sure.
Oh,
It was set up longer than it was supposed to, by the way. Just saying.
Pick up flag. Thank you. That's all I got on trees right now. Okay.
I'm glad it was, because I missed it the first day.
Okay, that's discussion items, action items, council on aging board appointment. Um, Jennifer DeSimone.
Yes, so Jen was on the COA board actually previously for 2 to 3 years. And then she became chief of staff at the Executive Office of Aging and Independence, which actually was the state agency that awarded grants to Council on Aging departments. So she had to step down from the board because of that. She's no longer serving in that role. She participates with the Friends on a volunteer basis and would like to get back involved with the COA board. She has a master's in gerontology.
She sounds like an excellent candidate.
Yeah, she is.
To that point, I've known Jen for long,
I've known her.
right, and she's very active with other boards. She's on the
She knows.
Fourth of July committee. All right, she's cooking at the pancake breakfast.
Mhm.
All right. So I think it's a great fit.
Mhm.
I move that the board appoint Jennifer DeSimone to the council on aging board for a term to expire on June 30th, 2029.
Second,
Jeff,
Yes,
Brian,
Yes,
Kathy.
Yes,
Anne says yes.
John, yes.
Okay,
Where does that put us on the COA board? Is that full now?
I think that makes it full.
Great.
great. Okay, that one. Okay. This one's a little funny. The Housing Authority representative on the Affordable Housing Trust. For Elaine Persons now.
So the Housing Authority has a representative. It was Gretchen Wood from the on the trust on behalf of the Housing Authority. Gretchen is stepping down, I believe, from the Housing Authority.
Mhm.
And so we need a new
Mhm.
member of the Housing Authority to serve in that role. And Elaine has offered.
It's usually we get an application and this one seems to be just, I'm gonna do it. Is that,
I don't think there was, the Housing Authority,
yeah, the
Is
housing authority
struggling.
isn't us.
well, they're also struggling membership wise.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I don't think there was really anyone else that was interested in,
Okay.
stepping up.
Fine.
I move the select board appoint Elaine Persons as the Housing Authority's representative on the Affordable Housing Trust for a term to expire in June 30th, 2027.
second,
Second,
John,
yes.
Anne says yes. Kathy.
yes,
Brian
Yes.
and Jeff.
yes.
Okay, the next is the advertising a sign at Sweeney Park. Would you? Thank you for putting up with all of you.
Okay, fine, thank
Yeah.
you for putting me on the agenda. My name is Paul Sturdy. I am the president of Manchester Athletic Softball Association. We are a 501c3 organization. We have been doing a lot of work down at Sweeney Park, the softball field. So what we're looking to do is, we don't have an outfield fence like the Little League does, where they can put numerous signs out there and generate a lot of revenue. We don't have it because our field gets used in the fall for soccer, so we have a temporary fence, which is just like fabric, so we can't attach anything to it. We do have approval, previous approval from your board to put some banners on the backstop, but it's limited because then the fans can't see the field. So we had put up a scoreboard, which was donated by the Hooper Fund, up on the existing structure. There's a spot next to it that is empty. I don't know if you have the photos, and if you don't, I have some. So it's that little spot under the left speaker. You'll see a little rectangle there. And we're looking, I've already spoken to a couple of banks. We do have a sponsor if this gets approved, to put a sign there, which would stay up year round. The other ones come down, we put them up, like during the season, get it down by. This one, because of where we have to install it, we leave it. So we're looking to get approval for that. This also faces the woods, like it's not out in.
It's not on the street.
Correct. And it would generate some good funds for us, like we do scholarships for the seniors that graduate. And we also keep our funding for all our registration the lowest in the district for our teams. We want to keep that way. If anybody needs assistance, we assist. So, like I said, for us to generate money, and we're not as big as Little League, stuff like this is really important to us. But I had talked to Cheryl at Park and Rec. As disclaimer, I'm on the Park and Recs committee, so just let them know that. But I talked to Cheryl, she said to make sure I can make there and ask for it. So that's what I'm here for. If you have any questions, please ask.
Do you have other advertisers, or is this kind of like a sole? Oh, you said you had, yeah, I guess you've got something you said you put on.
Yeah, we have like 6 signs right now from different ones. So what we do is we have some banners.
Yeah,
Kinda
banners,
like
what you
Lily,
said,
we
yeah.
put some on the backstop, but again, we have all the seating, we can't put too
Understood.
many because you can't see. And we don't want to do that, obstructing views. So what we're looking is to put something in this spot, which would be perfect for us and would generate some revenue for our organization.
You say it's year round.
This one would be. The other ones are temporary. We put them up to the season and take them down.
So I assume that means that each year you look for someone to sponsor to be advertised on the sign.
Yes, it would probably be the same thing. We just gave you insights. They really assisted us when we started this about 4 years ago, gave us a very generous donation. It is the bank that we use. So we gave them, we just asked if there was interest. We gave them first choice. There was another bank that had asked. And K-Ban had their board approved it if it gets approved here.
I'm just slightly concerned that if it's up year round, it could look a little shabby toward the third year.
If you know anything about the way I am down at that field, it'll come down. To be honest with you.
Fine.
We work very well with Park and Recs. We work very well with Sean DPW. Like we put down mulch, we do a ton of work down there to make it look that way. You should come down and take a look if you haven't in the past year or so. So it is something that we would definitely be aware of. The way I do this with sponsorships anyways, even with the banners, I clean them myself. We put them back up yearly. If something gets damaged, we just replace it. This board is by Seaside Graphics. It's 1-inch Sintra, so it's easy they're very lightweight. So we could pop it up and just get a new one made. If it only we'll look at it in a couple of years. If it doesn't look great, we'll pull it down and just redo it. In the request, I did say the sign would be 3 by 4. I'm wondering if we could do a 4x4, it would be no bigger than 4 feet by 4 feet in that space. I just don't know how symmetrical it'll look if it's 3x4 because it's not horizontal this side. So it would only come out, it would actually come out right where that speaker is. Cause that is about 3 feet to the middle of that beam under the speaker.
I have no problem. Just help put money in their pocket. I'm okay with that.
Well, and to be honest with you, we put it into the field, we buy clay, we had
Yeah.
to put in, we do it, I just bought a bench that's under the sign, we bought a scorer's table that we put, it's on the other side of the fence, so we buy a lot of this stuff in the field. And our golf cart is from 1996, and when I was on the Little League board, we had purchased that. It's on its last legs, and we groom the field with it, 4 to 5 times a week. So we need to replace that too, so anything we can generate helps a lot.
Is your season has started
Yes,
this week or?
I just came from a varsity game just now.
Okay,
Unfortunately, they did not. But, but they're probably ranked 3rd right now in the state, so it's good.
okay, good.
But yes, we run the youth program from K through 8th grade,
Mhm.
but we work well at the high school because they use the same field.
And the last time we talked about signs on fields, it was the high school that was looking for the signs, so I
Right,
assume that they will be supporting this.
Yes, yeah, because again, we work
Yeah,
hand
blend
in hand,
there.
like
Yes.
Tammy and the athletic director,
Blend there.
we feel on the same.
right, okay. Then I'll make a motion. I move that the board approve the placement of an advertisement sign to be attached to the scoreboard at the softball field at Sweeney.
Second.
Don,
Yes,
Anne says yes,
Yes,
Brian,
Yes.
Yes.
okay. Thank you for your
Thank you.
patience.
yeah, that's
Thank you
good.
very much for that. Appreciate it.
Thanks for hanging around.
Good evening.
Yep.
that's someone's coat.
Paul,
No, that's been there for,
what?
Okay, liaison updates.
Don't really have anything for you this week.
Brian?
Nothing. I mean, no.
All right, yeah, I have some stuff. Downtown improvement, they're still working on refining the boaters information pamphlet with the Harbor Advisory Committee. They are also reaching out to Bike and Ped to add trail and walking path info, so they're ready to launch that shortly. Also good partnering between downtown improvement and Bike and Ped on some pedestrian safety. They're gonna take a look at the intersections of Pine Central and Bridge. We had a meeting, the downtown improvement had a meeting with Chuck and Nate on that intersection around pedestrian safety, and now they're just gonna engage Bike and Ped to make sure that whenever they start digging up Bridge Street for whatever they're gonna do, you know, we all have a little, get the neighborhood involved and, you know, helping to make sure it's pedestrian friendly. Yeah. Key thing is neighborhood involvement there. The other thing I just thought I'd mention, I have been attending the MBTA Advisory Board meetings, and they had their budget review a couple of weeks ago or last week, I forget when it was. So the MBTA has been investing a lot in the South Shore over the past few years. Now it's our turn. So what they are going to be doing, one of their major projects they're going to be investing in is the North Station Draw One Bridge replacement project. It affects all of the lines going towards the North Shore. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to be not just replacing the bridge, but increasing the number of tracks. So it's a choke point right now. They're going to be going from 4 tracks to 6 tracks. And that creates opportunity for additional arrival and departure capacity on the commuter rail, in addition to improving safety and reliability. So they're going to hope to start that, I think, this spring. And it's, you know, another 5 years or so before they'll be using it. But it's nice for the North Shore to get a little bit of attention. Their other major project they're focusing on, since the South Shore stuff is winding down, is Green Line core capacity, which doesn't impact as much. Let's see. regional rails. You're gonna see some investment in regional rail around more bi-level coaches. They've got $260 million rail modernization budget and a $962 million budget for a different, North Station. So anyway, the big thing is that choke point at North Station. If we can get more tracks, that means maybe we can get more trains. Yeah.
Beach Street will be closed all the time.
But-
With gates down all the time now.
You said don't put it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DPW, man, I guess their topic of discussion this week is cargo. And they'll knock that building down probably sometime this month, but from what I understand, there's a good chance they'll be closing the entire road for maybe multiple days while they do that. But their plan is to get it down sometime this week, and they're kind of triangulating as to when that's exactly going to be. More news to come on that. We're 70% on the water meters. Keeps on going up. It's over 2/3 are installed now. And they're just starting to get a little more resolute on working on contracts for some of the projects that they're dealing with. And mostly the Lincoln Street well, assuming that the vote goes well on the 19th, on the May 19th.
Chuck is trying to schedule a meeting with the facilities committee.
Okay, well, we'd probably be in the middle of that a little bit, so. And along the same lines under COA, I think that Nate is starting to work out contracts with Olson Lewis for design work for the senior center. So those are activities that are going on. No updates on library or historic district commission.
The school committee is meeting tonight. At the Essex meeting. We've been meeting with the finance committee as much as I can stand. Looking forward to taking a short break from that. I forgot about the last Board of Health meeting, so I missed it completely. I am following the work that the Board of Health is doing with the Cape Ann Collaborative, the group with Gloucester, which is interesting. But not much progress. Okay, consent agenda.
We have an advisory board meeting tomorrow.
Yep.
At 8:30.
Basically. Yeah, that one's on my calendar, so I won't sleep through it.
What's the Council on Aging gift acceptance?
Daniel Daly.
So check, right?
Yeah, there was a check for $4,000.
Oh,
Yes.
Take it and run. Now what we
I
need
don't
is,
think it's like specifically for the senior center. It's just a
no,
donation.
okay,
to,
all right, well, that's very nice.
COA.
Okay, all right, that's good to hear.
We should write him a nice letter.
I consent to that.
Anything else on the consent agenda?
I move the board approve the consent agenda.
second,
Yes,
Ian says yes, Kathy?
Yes.
Brian?
yes,
And Jeff?
Yes.
so be it. Let it be written. So let it be done.
Now, the administrator report. Today was kind of like an interesting day in that after town meeting, we had a moment to breathe and recollect. And then today, starts the next chapter of what do we need to get done essentially between now and the end of the fiscal year. So we had a lot of discussion internally about, what what has been kind of put on the shelf a little bit in the last month or so because of town meeting prep that needs to come off and moving forward. Union contract negotiations is at the top of that list. We also have some personnel individual contract negotiation to do as well. We have some hiring process between the police chief, the assessor, and some supporting staff like the finance clerk, the approval of town meeting to divide the position in the assessor's office, things like that. Which that in particular ties back to fees. So for our department head meeting, I asked the department heads to take a look at their the fees that they charge through their departments, make sure that they are included in the fee schedule, and figure out if there's any proposals for adjustments. The goal being that those be proposed to the select board by our next meeting. And then the concept would be to have them go into effect July 1st and have a 1-month public comment period for the month of June. So that's coming next.
Just on that, because that's an excellent idea, and I like the way you're approaching that. Let's do it all at once instead of the dribs and drabs,
Yeah.
so that's. Did you ask them to also look at optional services that they are performing for free?
I did not.
If you wouldn't mind adding that to the list, even if it's something that they don't feel comfortable taking on as an action to change right now, we should have it on the list
Okay.
of
Yeah.
things to look at for the next year.
Mm-hmm. We spoke in our department head meeting about, being at the end of the fiscal year, managing their budgets as closely as they can, reaching out to their vendors to ask for any prior, any current fiscal year bills. And, I explained, this year we had 3 prior year bills at town meeting. One of them was for the town meeting audiovisual consultant, which was a decent amount compared to previous years. And so I said, I think there'll be some memory of that next year, and trying to avoid being on that list. So, getting ahead of that before the end of June. The cargo building demolition, we had a meeting with the property owners, talked about schedule, talked about the importance of communication, getting the word out, especially for those that are gonna be impacted, like the commercial businesses downtown, how their delivery drivers are gonna have to route around that detour. Speaking with the parish church, the bank, the preschool, allowing them to park, if they need to, they can park behind town hall for that time and walk through the senior center Mason building property to get over to the name of that. Well, what's the
Church Street.
Church Street? Well, no,
No, Chapel Lane.
Chapel Lane, to get to Chapel Lane. On Friday, we met the 4 trustees met at Masonic Hall to kind of game plan out all the number of tasks that we need to get organized on. We're meeting again
Thursday.
To elect officers?
We did not. We did not do
Decide
that
who
yet.
they're gonna be.
We,
We just
we,
haven't had an election.
we talked about it. We talked
Tony's not
about
gonna be president.
it. No. We did talk about it, but it was more of kind of like a,
It's more like informal.
Whiteboarding
We're gonna have
type
I think the first formal meeting will be Thursday.
we'll probably do the appointments at that point, or elected of officers at that point. 4th of July preparation, is also ramping up. Of course, Election Day, May 19th, and looking at what type of information materials we can put out related to the Proposition 2.5 questions. We utilized the room at the Masonic Hall today for our internal discussion about borrowing schedule. So Chuck, Nate, Andrea, Jen, and I met there. So we got some public use out of our new property.
That's
Yeah, to that point, you mentioned that, looking at trying to make it temporarily handicapped accessible so we can start using it immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely,
The sooner we start using it, the sooner people are gonna get used to it.
exactly.
And then some other small things that are going on on May 15th in Gloucester, there's a Meals on Wheels breakfast fundraiser that our, police department's taking a part of, and then as well as on June 17th is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. So there'll be an event on
I
Friday.
go find someone to beat them up.
They'll be right there.
Go find a senior. Hammy.
Make them aware. Yeah. Yeah, so we have this May 4th, we have, 2 months of a lot of work to get done.
Mhm.
Mostly on the personnel side, I would say we have a lot of negotiation and contract stuff to do and hiring and things like that, so. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Not yet. So this Adele, this is kind of a secret award.
It's, yeah,
Not anymore.
That's the person not the recipient.
Oh, by the way, the Pangos,
That's Wednesday. I'm signing it right now, the proclamation. Who's gonna be there?
I'll plan on going to, one of I'll be there.
Yeah, 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
At Bravo.
Yeah.
Small Business Award.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll only say 2 words because then, Bruce will be there.
Yes, that's right.
If he shows
If
up.
he shows up, he'll be there like,
All right, I made a motion.
I seconded
You
it.
did.
mhm.
Practice
that?
my signature now.
In the past, I have offered the Dell Urban Award on awards day at the night at the school. It's going to be awful like to do that.
This is one night at the school. When is that?
I don't know right now.
I mean, I'm happy to do that if I know what the schedule is. That, when you say school night, what, this is a night?
This is a night when they give out athletic award.
I did it my first year on the board, I did it.
Oh, you did it? Okay,
I don't want to do it again.
okay, once enough. We'll just rotate it around.
We understand you.
I mean, I'll do it. Let me know.
Well, I already put my,
Thank
Find
you,
out when it's likely to be.
thank you.
Essex usually puts their award in a front. Okay,
Keeping out over here.
that's fine.
Should we take a vote on the motion?
Yes,
Yes,
Yes.
John,
yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy,
Yeah.
Brian.
Yes.
And Jeff.
Yes.
Excellent.
back to a regular schedule now, getting out on time.
Yeah.
Late shit.